one way to start to develop or cultivate the quality of loving kindness is called seeing the goodness, encouraging your heart and your eyes to see what Thomas Merton, the Christian mystic, called the secret beauty behind the eyes of every being. And I heard a story of a school teacher in the Midwest, a math teacher, on a day when the class was rambunctious and unable to focus. She stopped the class and she put the names of all 31 students on the blackboard and said, "Copy them down, please." And then she said, for the last 15 minutes, "I'd like you to write next to each name one thing that you see, that you admire, or that's good about that person." At the end of the class, she collected them. And some months later, the day before a vacation when no one was concentrating on math at all anyway, toward the end of the class, she stopped and she handed back the papers where she had copied and cut out the names of each person, and then on their page were written the 31 things that their fellow classmates had said about them. A couple of years after that, she got a call, very sadly, from the mom of one of her favorite students, who said, "I'm sorry to tell you that Paul has died. He graduated high school, he enlisted in the military, and he was killed in action in the Middle East. And I know he was a favorite of yours," and invited her to come to the memorial service, the funeral. So after the memorial service, when they were ready to lower the body into the grave, this teacher was standing near the mom and other old classmates of Paul. And the mom said, "I need to tell you something. When my son was killed, there were only a few things he carried in his pocket, and one of them was this." And she pulled out that page that said Paul at the top and listed the 31 beautiful things that people had written about him. Obviously, it had been opened and closed and tattered many times. And the teacher's eyes filled with tears. And then the young girl next to her, who had been a classmate with Paul, said, "Oh yeah, I always carry mine," and opened her purse and said, "Here it is." And then a young man on the other side of the circle said, "Oh, I made it part of my wedding vows." There's something so remarkable about seeing the beauty of another being. As Nelson Mandela said, "It never hurts to see the good in someone. They often act the better because of it." So to see the goodness is to do what Einstein called expanding the circle of affection, the well-wishing or loving kindness that sees the original innocence, the dignity, the beauty of another, and also is in touch with that same secret beauty, that original innocence in yourself. When you reflect, remember a day when you felt a lot of love. Maybe you were in love, remember that? Or maybe you were, whether it was with another person, or maybe you were in love with life or the world. And even as I remind you and you reflect on it, feel what it's like in your body and spirit to be in this field of love. And know that it is possible for you, that it is available and accessible. Not only is it available on the days that are easy, but the amazing thing is it's also possible in times of difficulty. A story from Richard Selzer, who was a surgeon at Yale University. He writes, "I stand by the bed where a young woman lies, her face post-operative, her mouth twisted in palsy, clown-like, a tiny twig to the facial nerve, the one to the muscles of her mouth has been severed. She will be this way from now on. The surgeon had followed with religious fervor the curve of her flesh, I promise you that. Nevertheless, to remove the tumor in her cheek, I had to cut the little nerve. Her young husband is in the room. He stands in the lamplight next to her as the young woman speaks. Will my mouth always be like this, she asks, twisted. Yes, I say, it will. It's because the nerve was cut. She nods, is silent, but the young man smiles. I like it, he says. It's kind of cute. And all at once I know who he is. I understand and lower my gaze, for one is not bold in an encounter with the gods. And unaware of my presence, he bends to kiss her crooked mouth, and I so close I can see how he twists his own lips to accommodate to hers, to show her that their kiss still works. And I remember that the gods appeared in ancient Greece as mortals, and hold my breath and let the wonder in.